So I had an interesting idea for a video. That basically was just me going over my experiences growing up. Since I'm apparently the trans woman that everyone's talking about. I grew up for 33 years presenting as male and just sort of flipped a switch one day when it got too bad, when the dysphoria got too bad, and started presenting female. I'm that girl. I benefited from male privilege. So what was it like? Most of the time, when I was aware of it, and that's part of the reason it exists and it's perpetuated, is that men aren't aware of it. Some men, some really awful men, are are aware of it, and they keep doing it anyway, or they do it harder, just because they're jerks. Just because they see women as the weaker sex and they can take advantage of us. But for the privilege that I was aware of, every time that I saw its effect on me or on those around me, I felt dirty. Like I was letting down, my fellow women. Seriously. And one of the issues that a lot of these feminists have with trans women and presenting male for most of their lives, we can talk about that later, because what about kids who transition? Because suddenly their argument is invalid. But anyway, there were a couple of instances where I was put in a position where I had to use male privilege against a female in society. And I want to let you know that those instances hurt, and they did not leave me feeling good in any sense. I won't go into them in detail, mostly because I just put my makeup on and I don't want to cry today, thanks. But also because I don't want to make this proving how good I am at being a girl video. So does that make me a real woman? Because I have experienced male privilege, and because I have presented as a masculine male for so long in my life, does that make me a real woman now that I'm presenting as my actual gender and I'm being myself? I mean, it requires us to define what a real woman is, and if that's simply a woman who has experienced girlhood, I mean, that's erasing the identities of every intersex person who was assigned male at birth and discovered that they were not actually male, either later in life when they started developing breasts, or just if they transitioned because they weren't the right sex. And that's not uncommon. It's at about 1 in 1,000 births are visibly intersex. And a study I found in 2005 found that about 50% of these were people who had already... The practice of assigning a sex to an intersex person is mostly no longer practiced. Mostly we just leave these poor folks alone and let them figure their stuff out. And we're trying to get there with trans people too. But a study in 2005 found that about 50%, 49% of intersex people who had been assigned male at birth, which means that they had enough male genitalia that they could be assigned to the male sex, transitioned to female later in life. And that was either because they still had ovaries and began developing breasts and felt more comfortable that way, or a large number of them felt like they weren't men, they weren't guys, and transitioned to female. So if it's okay for intersex people, why isn't it acceptable for trans people? It's part of the reason that I personally consider being trans a sort of an intersex condition. It's just that the external genitalia appears correct, according to the binary, but the brain is not. So, that out of the way. So it can't be that you're assigned a sex at birth and you're raised as a certain gender, because that throws every intersex person who is assigned and then transitions later under the bus, and that's a huge number of people. That's more than trans people. So how about one of my favorites? Chromosomes, right? I was assigned a male at birth. That means I have an XY chromosome pair, right? My 23rd pair. Not necessarily. About 1 in 20,000 men don't have their double X chromosome. They appear completely as men, and in fact most of them don't figure it out until they attempt to have children and realize that they are infertile. And they're, because patriarchy, their wives' infertility is ruled out. 1 in 20,000 double X chromosome. 10% of those men don't have any Y chromosome material whatsoever on their 23rd pair at all. So that's not it. The other thing is, you can make an assumption about my chromosomes. I can make an assumption about my chromosomes, but I don't know. I haven't had my DNA sequenced. I don't know if I have XY chromosomes in my 23rd pair. I have no idea. Does it matter? Well, 1 in 20,000 men have double X chromosomes, so my guess is it doesn't matter. It's just another stupid assumption. It's like assuming the genitalia of someone based on their face. It's ridiculous and idiotic, and it's something that we do in this society, and for whatever reason, we've started taking it as gospel. We make these assumptions, and then we say that this is how things are. And it's not. It's an assumption. And when you make an assumption like that, and then you start building that assumption into law, you get into an incredible amount of discrimination. And that's all it is. It's discrimination. It's not anything else. You're not being scientific. You're not upholding this, great biological construct of binary gender, because it's not there. It doesn't exist. There is no binary gender in biology. If you took any biology past 7th grade, you would know that. So what does it mean to be a real woman? What does it mean to be a real person at all? Any kind of real person? What makes you real? I think it's authenticity, honestly. If you are a cisgender male and you've always liked the color pink, but you hide that fact and you say you actually like green, you're not being authentic and you're not a real man. If you are a cisgender woman and the thought of being pregnant and having a kid terrifies you, but you're bullied into starting a family with the man you love, or the woman you love, the person you love, you're bullied into becoming pregnant by your family or by society's desires for you, you're not being authentic, and I don't think that makes you a real woman. So, transition for me has been mostly a journey of authenticity. and discovering myself and presenting myself to the world, finally, after 33 years of hiding, telling the world who I am. And for me, I think that authenticity defines you. If you are true to yourself, you're real, and you're a real person. And I think a lot of people could learn from that. It's the definition of realness that Janet Mock subscribes to, that if you are authentic and you follow yourself and your values and you love yourself with all that you can, then you're authentic. And then that's all the authenticity is, all the realness that I need from a person. Just be yourself. I guess that's all I have for this video. Wasn't gonna be, oh my god, I have like notes and stuff over here. Like, this was gonna be a serious and nasty video, and I just started thinking about it more and more over the course of the day and was like, you know, there really is just the one thing I wanted to talk about, and that's that authenticity matters. And it matters whether you're cis or trans, whether you're binary or non-binary. Be yourself and own it. As long as you're not, a dick to other people. Anyway, there's my video for the day.